Got an interesting one for you today. This one is called Mosaiq by UVI, and this instrument is all about loading up some chord type presets and or beats. And that's kind of what it's focusing on. And these chords can either be played as chords or they can be arpeggiated. And the interesting thing about these chords is that you don't play them, as a cluster, you just trigger them with a key and it triggers a chord that you've created or that some preset designer has created. So it is a very different instrument. It kind of reminds me of Native Instruments' Playbox, an instrument that's been around for a few years. This one has kind of a different take on it. And the thing I love the most about this virtual instrument is the presets. And it's only through the presets that you can really get to understand the power of a virtual instrument by the creators. And this one is kind of a complex instrument. So let's have a look at it and we'll scratch the surface of it a little bit. I'm not going to go into a ton of demos of the patches. There's a bunch of videos that are already out that do exactly that. So make sure you go check out other videos on it if you just want to hear what other patches and presets sound like. In this one, what I want to do is kind of assume that maybe you've picked this up or you're thought about picking it up, and we're going to look at some different ways to integrate this software into your workflow, because it's not exactly what you might think it would be. So let's have a look. And it goes without saying that UVI did send me the software. They're not paying me to make the video, but I do put paid promotion because they give me the software for free. So I'm loading it inside Falcon. You can load it inside the UVI workstation software. It does exactly the same thing. So here's the crazy thing about this instrument. You really only have a few keys. So I just made a little color preset on my Complete Control keyboard so that my keys line up with the colors of theirs. So I just loaded up a preset. I haven't messed with this yet, but that just already sounds kind of beautiful. So what is going on with this instrument? So they've got 8 different slots here for chords. And if you're doing an instrument-based thing, this is going to be different chords that you can then go in and tweak. So a preset here comes with a bunch of very beautiful chords. If you wanted to go and tweak this, how would you go and choose your own notes? Well, from this front interface here, you can see that we can choose the keys. So I could go to D minor. Okay, that's easy. And these aren't loops that are being played, so you can change the tempo to whatever tempo you want, and it's not going to time stretch the audio. You click on a chord, and in this chord, you can see 5 different notes. And basically what's happening here is, as long as these are all turned on, you're going to hear all of those different sounds being triggered. Okay, now all we have is that first note. If I add the second one in, and the next one, and the next one. And we can take this note here and we can say, you know what, let's take it up a little bit. So we're in C minor, so let's take it up to a G. Or maybe we take it up to a D. Let's try a D, another D. So if I click on the sample itself, I can say, all right, Chapman stack, that's kind of cool. Chapman stick is a really neat guitar-like instrument. Let's try hammer finger. Or try, okay, and then we can see other kinds of samples over here. Oh, and they get a preview, that's very nice. Arrows work too, I love that. Okay, let's load this one up. Okay, so you can hear this one's getting triggered kind of right at the beginning of every little phrase here. So if I click over on motion, we can see that this slot, which is this note, we can see that this note, which is my D4, let's listen to it. By the way, you can even click record and say, let's make it an F. And turn the motion back on. Okay, that sounds kind of weird. So let's now go to motion, and we're gonna see, all right, that F is being triggered right at the beginning and somewhere right in the middle of this little sequence. So all I have to do is take the velocity on that first note if I don't want it on the beginning of every loop. And then I kind of like this note and the sound, but I kind of want one more note right after it. So how would I do that? That's where this gets kind of complicated. So I'm going to hit the record button and we're going to make it the G right above that F. And then we're going to go choose the same sample, which is way over in mallet and dyno peak. There we go. Okay, turn motion back on. And then I can change the notes. Maybe do like a, maybe we make this like a E flat and a D. Okay, that's cool. All right, that is definitely one thing about this software that's gonna take your brain a while to get around, but I gotta say this compared to Playbox is more intuitive to me. What I would love to see is some way to just play the chord in, play all 5 notes and then have it map those 5 notes. And I guess you could, technically you could do something like this, like record the C, record the E flat, record the G, record the B flat, and the D. So now we get my custom chord. And then let's see what happens. Right now we've got all different samples here. What happens if we go to the sample itself and turn this little link on and choose that guy right there? Okay. All right. So do you see what happened there? So now I've got electric mallet samples loaded for all 5 notes that are happening in this little sequence. So this is the note sequencer. If we were to change that to a phraser, we can change the velocity. Oh, there we go. Now we're getting some notes. Okay, this is cool. Ooh, that was neat. So there you go. So it is possible to go in and make your own little melodies by using the phraser. That's pretty cool. So once I've done this, once I've made my own little phrase, I could probably save this. And now I could go to my next chord and I could choose the phraser on that one and then maybe load that one. And then I'm going to go to my sound slot for that one and make sure that first note is a C as well. And then now go back to my motion. Okay, so now we've got both of them playing it. That's kind of cool. Okay, so again, kind of a strange interface. This is not, I'm learning this as I go here, by the way. I did spend some time, I read the manual a little bit, but it's just taken me a little bit to get a handle on what is happening with this software. Okay, so right now we're on instrument. So why don't we try something that might be a little more fun? We'll go to Velvet R&B. Oh, wow. Really nice patches. Okay, here we go. So here's a really important tip for applying the same chords to a different patch. So we're going to duplicate this track, and we'll call that one brass. And we're going to leave the same notes on there, but we're going to load up a totally different type of patch. So I'm going to click on the browser, and we're going to go, I think we're in Velvet R&B, so let's go to one of their ARPs. And we'll try double clicking. That's pretty neat. Okay, I really like this one, but the chords are totally different. So I'll go back to my other patch. Okay, meditative outer space. So what we need to do is go to the other one and choose meditative outer space. Let's give this a try. Meditative outer space. Let's try a totally different patch. And so what we could do here is we can lock the chords that we've got in place so that as we load totally different patches, the chords all stay the same. Oh yeah, that's actually working. Let's try another one. Really great sounding patches, but you can see how if you just lock the chords in on one track that you've already got and then go start loading up other patches, you can do arpeggiated patches or just chord patches, you're gonna get chords that fit in as your little song. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna go back to our instrument here, and if you see this little MIDI symbol, you can actually click on it and drag the chords onto a MIDI track. Now this is another thing I'm gonna say that I wish this software had. The ability to take this MIDI information, put it onto another track and actually be able to play it with a completely different virtual instrument. Right now, as far as I can see, all you can do is take these chords, click that little button and drag them onto a track. And now you'll have those individual chords laid out as something you can put somewhere else. Okay, I've just put a bass patch in, and this one is just from Lo-Fi Dreams. So the chords that I'm triggering are the F sharp, the A, the D, and then I'm skipping one and going to the E. So let's see what happens if I play that. Okay, so with this one here, we're gonna have a look at the drums of Mosaiq because that is a huge part of what this instrument is all about. And they've actually also got kits. So they're kind of a combination of a couple of drum beats and then a bunch of chords. So let's go back to the browser here and Liquid Breaks. Let's see what that one's all about. And the way it works is they've got a bunch of sounds mapped out onto these different keys. And if you click on it and the little motion thing is turned on, then it's a loop. But you could just turn that off and you could now just play this as something where you can actually use this library just as it sounds and just play it and treat it as a normal rompler. But I think the idea is to use their motion stuff that they've got worked into it. So it works like this. You can just, you've got this beat that just keeps going. Now the thing I, again, wish you could do is just take MIDI, put it onto a track, and then tweak it and add some variety and stuff like that. I don't think you can do that with this one, so just be aware of that. Okay, let's try hyper pop. Let's try beat culture. And then the other thing I should mention is it's got some modifier keys up top, just those black keys. So you hear that's like a huge filter, only just letting the sub bass through. That's adding some kind of like dubby delay. So that's how you can modify your beat a little bit. And then if you want to go and change the pattern, of course, you can click on one of your different slots. You also have the option to have 5 different samples on each one of your little keys here. So it's kind of cycling through those 5. We could turn off a couple of them. Now it's just doing those 3 samples. So I'm pretty sure you can bring in whatever you want. And if you want all of those 5 different things to be the same sound, then you go back to the sample browser and choose this little lock thing. And then of course we could do some panning stuff to these. And then we can go to the motion tab and we can change how fast these are going. So this little crash symbol comes in right here. If I don't like that, I can just get rid of it just by going like that. And then the last thing we should look at is just some kits. And these are kind of combinations of a beat and some patches. So let's listen to that and maybe have a look at some of the different categories I haven't touched yet. So this one. So you can see that the first two of these are beats. Okay, let me try this. Let's go like this. What about if we click on this guy right here and say, all right, let's copy that from slot 1. So now we have one beat. Okay, this is gonna work now. Because you can have multiple sounds, you could have an entire drum kit, kick, snare, hi-hat, or whatever, on one sound slot. Now, I've also got that one on sound slot 2. And in this one, I could go to the motion and start adding in some other add some other craziness in here. Okay, so now we've got two different versions, and then the second one has a little bit more to it. So I guess you could go and have a couple of different beats, a couple of different loops on these different sound slots. It's almost too bad you couldn't have more, right? Because then you could really get an entire song. But I guess you could, in some ways, you could have 8 different beats with the same sort of sounds mapped out up your keyboard on one patch. So that's one way that you could have a whole bunch of different loops, all just from these different sound slots. Man, this is complex stuff. So now with this one, we've also got chords in here. So let's try those. Try some other presets. All right, and of course we're sitting here trying to make an entire track out of just these patches, and I don't think that's necessarily the idea, right? Like this might be a song starter, so you can kind of think of it like a loop creator, and then you get to choose the key, you get to choose the chords, you get to choose the sounds, and all the effects and stuff like that, but then you can go and sample that, slice it up, and now you've got this little thing that you've created, nobody else has it. Let me know what you think about it. Go watch some other videos and let me know what you think about this instrument. It's very different and it's nice to see people trying different things out. There's a few things I hope they add to it, like the ability to extract MIDI from the arpeggiator so that you could use that in some other patch. I'd also love to be able to take the drums and extract MIDI from that so that I could then go and just program the drums, turn off that little motion thing and just program the drums exactly the way I want for my song without having to use this new pattern sequencer type stuff in this little instrument. So anyways, let me know what you think. Thanks for watching and I'll see you in the next video.